The royal court of Aloria was built to make visitors feel small. The hall was long and bright, with tall crystal pillars and a ceiling like a frozen sky. Light moved through the crystals and fell on the floor in sharp lines, like silent blades. Along both sides stood nobles in heavy robes, their eyes cold, their faces calm in a practiced way. Above them, on a high black throne, sat Queen Sorelith. Her crown was thin and perfect, like a circle of silver bone. No one spoke when the humans entered. The court did not welcome strangers with words. It welcomed them with silence and judgment. 3 humans walked forward at a steady pace. They wore simple, dark uniforms, clean and plain, without jewels or bright marks. The lead human was Ambassador Eli Ward. He was not tall compared to the royal guards, but he walked as if the floor belonged to him. Beside him moved Captain Mara Vance, his security officer. Her eyes did not jump around. She watched the room the way a hunter watches a field, quiet, ready, patient. Behind them, a young aide carried a small metal case. It was not large. It could fit under one arm. It had no gold, no art, no fancy shape, just a dull gray box with one thin seal across the top. Yet the nobles stared at it more than they stared at the humans. Something about the case felt wrong in that shining hall. Like a stone dropped into clean water, a royal herald stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Humans, you stand before her radiance, Queen Sorelith of the High Empire. You will kneel." Eli Ward stopped at the marked line on the floor. The humans had been told about this line. Visitors were meant to kneel there and lower their heads. Eli did neither. He simply placed his hands at his sides and looked up at the throne. "We greet the Queen," he said in a calm voice. His words were simple. His tone was not rude, but it was not fearful either. A soft sound moved through the court, not words, just a wave of discomfort. Nobles shifted. Some looked at each other as if to say, "Is this human insane?" The Queen leaned forward a little. Her eyes were bright and sharp. "You bring a gift," she said. It was not a question. It was a command wrapped in polite sound. "Show it." The aide stepped forward with the case. A servant moved quickly to offer a velvet pillow as court custom demanded. Gifts were placed on pillows. Gifts were lifted and presented like offerings. The aide did not take the pillow. Instead, he lowered the case to the floor. The metal touched the polished stone with a small, clean tap for a heartbeat. The whole court forgot to breathe. Captain Mara Vance did not change her face, but she shifted her weight slightly, like someone ready for a sudden storm. Queen Sorelith's gaze dropped to the case. A thin line appeared at the corner of her mouth. "You place your object on my floor," she said slowly. "Do you think my court is a market street?" Eli did not answer with anger. He did not raise his voice. "It is safer there," he said. "For everyone." That was when the nobles began to whisper, not loud, but enough to show their insult. A few even laughed, short and sharp. The Queen lifted one hand, and the whispers stopped at once. She looked at the case again, as if it had offended her personally. "What is it?" she asked. Eli's eyes did not leave the throne. "A tool," he said, "a human tool." "A tool," the Queen repeated. Her voice was smooth, but there was heat under it. "In my hall." Her fingers tightened on the arm of her throne. Then she pointed, not at Eli, but at the case. "Remove it." The Queen commanded. The words fell like a stone. At once, High Guard Reth stepped forward. He was huge, armored, and certain. 2 more guards followed him. Their boots hit the stone in perfect rhythm. Their weapons were held at the ready, not because they feared the case, but because they wanted the humans to feel fear. Reth stopped beside the case and looked down at it as if it were dirt. He reached for the handle. Captain Mira's hand lifted. A little, not to draw a weapon, but as a warning. Eli did not move. Reth's gloved fingers touched the metal. The change was instant. Not a flash. Not a blast. No smoke. No heat. Just absence. Sound vanished. The crystal pillars stopped singing with the air. The soft hum of lights died. Even the tiny clink of a noble's ring against a cup disappeared mid-motion, like the world forgot how to make noise. The court froze. Mara could see mouths opening, but she heard nothing. A servant dropped a tray. She saw it fall, but it made no crash. It was like watching a dream with the sound turned off. Queen Sorelith sat very still. Her lips moved. She tried to speak. Nothing. For the first time in many years, her power had no voice. Fear moved across the faces below the throne. Guards looked at each other. Nobles pressed back, suddenly unsure. They had used silence as a weapon for so long. Now silence had become something else, something that belonged to the humans. Reth jerked his hand away and raised his rifle. He aimed at the case, then at Eli, then at Mara. His mouth formed a shout. Captain Mara took one slow step forward, calm as a shadow. She looked at Reth, then at the Queen, as if to say, "You asked for this." Reth pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. High. Guard Reth pulled the trigger again. Nothing, no flash, no kick. Oh, no sound. The weapon stayed dead in his hands, like a piece of old metal. Reth's eyes went wide, then hard. He looked at the humans as if they had stolen the laws of nature all around. Him guards lifted their rifles too. A row of mouths opened in angry shouts, but the hall stayed quiet. The Queen's nobles leaned back, confused and afraid. In this court, silence was supposed to be a tool the Queen used on others. Now, silence owned the room. Queen Sorelith rose. From her throne in one sharp movement, she pointed at the humans, then made a cutting motion across her neck in order. Her face was cold, but her eyes showed a crack of panic. Captain Mara Vance saw it at once. The Queen could not control the room with her voice, so she would use bodies. Reth switched to a blade. Other guards did the same. Metal left sheaths without a single ring. It was worse than noise. It was like watching a storm with no thunder. Mara stepped in front of Ambassador Eli, her hands open, her posture calm. She did not beg. She did not threaten. She simply stood there like a wall. Eli glanced down at the small case on the floor. The thin seal across it was still unbroken, but the metal looked darker now, as if it had swallowed light. Eli did not touch it. He did not need to. This was not the moment for more moves. Instead, the human aide reached into his jacket and pulled out a flat, white card. He held it high. Big black letters were printed on it, clear enough for even the far nobles to read. Nai Toto Harm. Listen. A few nobles blinked. One of them laughed at least. He tried to. His shoulders shook, but no sound came out. The laugh died in his throat, and his face turned pale. Queen Sorelith's gaze fixed on the card. She looked insulted, like someone had placed dirt in her hand. She pointed again at the humans and made another fast motion. Take them. Reth charged it. Happened in silence, which made every move feel wrong. Boots hit the floor with no impact. Armor plates shifted with no scrape. The guard's mouth was open in a war shout that no one could hear. Mara moved at the last second. She did not draw a gun. She did not need one. She stepped to the side, caught Reth's arm, and used his own speed against him. She twisted, low and controlled. Reth's weight went forward. His knee hit stone. His blade slid across the floor, harmless, like a child's toy. Reth looked up at her. Shocked, Mara pointed at the blade, then pointed at the case, then pointed at him. Her meaning was simple, not smart. Two guards rushed her from both sides. Mara turned, fast and clean. She kicked one guard's knee. The guard fell, with no crash. She shoved the second into a pillar. The man's helmet hit crystal, still no sound. He slid down like a broken statue. Eli stayed behind her, hands visible. He did not run. He did not hide. He watched the queen. And the queen watched him back. Sorala's throat moved. She was still trying to speak. Her lips formed words that meant death and control. But the room gave her nothing. Then something else changed. Queen Sorala's eyes shifted. Just for a second, to the crystal pillars, to the tiny light lines inside them. The humans did not know the full design of the palace. But Eli noticed her look. He followed it. Small crystals were set into the pillars at perfect height, all through the hall. They looked like decoration. They were not. Eli understood. Many empires loved secrets. Many palaces loved to listen. The human aide raised another. "Card, we know you listen." A ripple went through the nobles. Some turned their heads toward the pillars as if seeing them for the first time. Others looked away at once, guilty. A few stared at the queen, waiting for her to deny it. Queen Sorala's face tightened. She stepped down from the throne, one step at a time, slow and careful. Without her voice, she needed the room's eyes to stay on her. She needed to look untouchable. But the silence made her footsteps unreal, like she was walking in a void. She stopped a few paces from the case. She did not go closer. Reth pushed himself up, furious. He lifted his blade again, but his arms shook. His armor supports were not working. Without power, the heavy plates were a burden. He looked less like a monster now, and more like a man trapped inside. His own shell. Mara pointed at him and made a clear gesture. "Stop." Reth did not. Mara reached into her belt pouch and pulled out a thin strap, simple cloth. No tech. Into. Quick moves, she wrapped it around his wrist and pulled him off balance again. Reth fell hard. Still no sound. His eyes burned with hatred. Eli lifted his hands, palms forward, to the queen. He pointed at the case. Then at the pillars, then at Dalala, then at the queen herself. The heavy palace doors sealed shut with a final hard slide. Metal panels locked into place along the frame. No alarm rang. No horn sounded. Still, everyone felt the meaning in their bones. They were trapped. Queen Sorala turned toward the doors, her eyes sharp with anger. She pointed at the control pillars near the wall and made a clear order to her tech servants. "Open it." The servants rushed to the panel. Their fingers moved fast over glass keys. Nothing changed. The lights above still shone, but the door system did not answer. In the silent field, the palace felt like a giant machine with half its heart removed. A noble near the back began to shake. His lips moved in a prayer, but no sound came out. Another noble pounded on the door with both fists. The impact made no noise, yet everyone saw the pain on his hands. Captain Mara Vance tracked every movement. She did not look at the door for long. Doors were only one danger. In a room like this, the real threat was always a person, ambassador. Eli Ward stayed calm. He watched the queen and the nobles, reading their faces. Fear was spreading, and fear made people do stupid things. The small metal case still sat on the floor, untouched. It looked simple, almost harmless, but it held the court in a tight grip. Around it, the silence was complete. No whisper could travel. No hidden mic could steal a word. That was the point. Eli reached into his coat and pulled out a thin screen pad. He tapped it, then turned it outward so the front rows could read. The text was large and clear. Asterisk, asterisk, this is a quiet zone. Nitrogen, monoxide, spies. No tricks, only truth. Asterisk, asterisk, Queen Sorala's stare cut into him. She lifted her chin, proud even now. She was a ruler who lived on control. She had made a career from making others feel small. Eli typed again. Asterisk, asterisk. We did not lock your doors. A few nobles glanced at each other. They had seen the queen's face when the locks dropped. She had been surprised. That truth landed like a cold. Wait, someone else was acting at the side of the hall? Prince Kale stood among the nobles. He was younger than most of them, dressed in fine cloth, but his eyes were not soft. He had watched the humans enter without bowing. He had watched the queen lose her voice. And now he watched the doors seal like a prison. Kale looked at the pillars. Again, at the decorations. At the tiny crystals set in perfect lines. He had grown up here. He knew those crystals. They were not just art, they were ears. His stomach turned as he remembered late nights and private talks that never stayed private. Plans that somehow reached the wrong hands. Friends who vanished after saying the wrong thing. Kale had blamed. Bad luck. Now he wondered if the palace itself was listening. Across the hall, High Guard Reth pushed up from the floor again. Mara's cloth strap still held his wrist tight. His armor looked heavy without its powered support. He breathed hard, chest rising and falling in silence. He stared at the humans like they were poison. Then Reth did. Something small. He glanced toward the ceiling. Mara saw it. Her eyes followed his look. High above, between crystal beams, there were dark gaps. Service paths, old access vents, places where a person could hide. Mara's jaw tightened. In silence, danger was harder to read. No footstep warning. No metal click. No shouted order. Eli noticed Mara's change and looked where she looked. He did not panic. He only typed faster on the pad and showed it briefly to Mara. Asterisk, asterisk, second team. Asterisk, asterisk, Mara gave a tiny shake of her head. This was not a human setup. Humans did not trap themselves in enemy palaces unless they had to. Eli's face stayed calm, but inside his mind a hard memory returned. It's clear and cruel. It began months ago on the colony world of Lysa 7. A human teacher had sent a message with shaking hands. Children were missing. Not runaways. Not accidents. Taken in the night. Doors cut clean. No sound, no trace. Then more reports came. Other worlds, same pattern. Same clean cuts. Same quiet. Humans had searched for pirates. They had found Empire codes instead. Evidence showed transport routes leading into high Empire space. And worse names? Unit lists. Recruitment cargo. Children marked as assets. That was why Eli stood here now, in front of the Queen. Not for pride, not for a trade deal, not for a speech. He was here because humans did not forget stolen. Children. Eli typed again and turned the pad toward the Queen. Asterisk, asterisk. We know about the children. Asterisk, asterisk. A wave of shock moved through the court. Nobles stiffened. A servant's hand flew to her mouth. Prince Kale went still, his face turning pale. Queen Saralif's eyes flashed. She took one step forward, then stopped. She did not want to come close to the case. She did not want to be near something she could not control. Eli's next message appeared, slow and heavy. Stop I.T. Return them. Oh, or this empire ends. The Queen's lips formed a furious word. The silence swallowed it. In the back rows, one noble quietly began to slip away toward a side corridor. Mara saw him. She pointed, warning Eli. The man froze and tried to act normal, but his eyes kept flicking upward, toward the ceiling gaps. Mara's hand moved to her belt. She pulled out a small mirror chip and angled it. The chip caught a line of light and bounced it up into the dark space. For a second, the light touched something that was not stone. A lens. Mara's blood ran cold. High above, hidden in the vent's shadow, a figure lay flat with a long rifle. The rifle was aimed straight at Eli's head. The shooter's finger rested on the trigger, and in the perfect silence, no one would hear the shot coming. Mara's small mirror chip held the light steady for one more second. The beam touched the dark space above the crystal beams, and the hidden lens flashed like a cold eye. The shooter was real. He lay flat in the vent path, wrapped in dull cloth, with a long rifle pressed into his shoulder. The barrel did not shine. It looked old, simple, and deadly. Mara's heart tightened. Inside the quiet zone, most palace weapons had failed. But this rifle did not look like a normal Empire rifle. It had no glowing parts, no power pack, no smart sight. It was a plain tool made to work even when machines died. Mara looked at Eli. She could not shout. She could not warn him with sound. She did the only thing she could. She grabbed Eli's collar and pulled him down and left. At the same time, she threw the mirror chip upward with all her strength. The chip spun into the vent gap. The light line broke. For a split second, the sniper's sight picture was ruined. The shooter still fired. There was no bang, no crack, no echo. But the bullet cut the air like a fast shadow. Mara saw it, not by sound, but by the tiny change in dust and light. She pushed Eli harder. The bullet tore through the edge of Eli's coat and struck the crystal floor behind them, sending a sharp spray of stone chips across the hall. Still no sound, but the court reacted like a struck animal. Nobles jerked back. Guards raised blades. Servants dropped to their knees. Everyone could see what had happened, even if they could not hear it. Eli stayed low, his eyes wide for only a moment. Then he controlled his face again. He looked at Mara with a clear question in his eyes. Mara pointed up. Eli followed her finger and saw the dark vent line. The queen also saw the movement. Her eyes lifted. Her face changed, not into fear, but into anger mixed with something worse. Surprise. She had not ordered this. High Guard Reth snapped his head toward the ceiling too. His jaw clenched so hard the muscles jumped. For the first time, his hate was not aimed at the humans. It was aimed upward, toward the hidden shooter. Mara noticed that she stored it away in her mind. Reth knew something too of the queens. Guards ran for the wall ladders that led to the service paths, so they climbed fast, silent as ghosts. Their armor looked heavy without power, but training carried them up. The shooter tried to shift position. Mara saw the shape move in the shadow. She drew a compact human stun. Launcher simple, spring-loaded, not high-tech. It was made for close work, not for distance. She did not fire. It would not reach. Instead, she moved. She ran straight toward the nearest pillar, boots sliding slightly. On polished stone, she climbed the first steps of the wall trim and grabbed a hanging banner line. The cloth rope was thick. She swung once, hard, and kicked off the wall. Her body hit the side access ladder with a clean impact that everyone could see. She climbed 2 rungs, then 3, moving fast, above. The guards reached the vent opening. The shooter fired again. The second bullet streaked down the hall. This time, Mara did not have time to pull Eli. Eli rolled on his own, quick and sharp, like someone trained for danger. The bullet hit a court table instead, splintering it. Still no sound. But now the whole hall understood a simple truth. Someone in the palace wanted the human. Ambassador dead. The guards reached into the vent gap and grabbed cloth. The shooter fought. A brief struggle followed, silent and violent, like a play acted behind glass. Then the guards dragged the attacker into the open. He was not a noble, not a servant. He wore a plain suit under his outer cloth, with no house colors. His face was thin, his eyes hard. A hired hand. They shoved him down onto the floor near the case. The attacker's rifle fell beside him. It was simple, metal and wood, with a manual load. Human style, but not fully human. A copy made. For one purpose, the queen stepped forward quickly, her fingers stabbing toward the attacker. Her mouth formed a rage-filled order. Kill him, now Reth. Moved half a step. Mara dropped down from the ladder and landed near Eli. She placed herself between the attacker and the guards. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes were sharp as knives. Eli crawled forward slowly, careful, hands open. He looked at the attacker, then at the queen. His expression did not show fear. It showed something colder. Decision. Eli reached into his pocket. All eyes turned to High Guard Reth. The attacker lay on the floor, breathing hard, one hand pressed to the fresh med patch on his lip. He looked afraid now, because he had said the name out loud with his mouth, even if no sound could carry it. In the quiet zone, truth did not need volume. It only needed witnesses. Reth did not step back. He straightened to his full height and stared down at the attacker. His face was calm, but his eyes were not. His eyes were the eyes of a man measuring distance. Queen Sorelith looked from the attacker to Reth. She lifted her chin, trying to keep the court's attention on her. She was the queen. The room had to believe she was still the center. But the silence had changed the rules. Captain Mara moved half a step closer to Eli, keeping her body between him and Reth. Her hand stayed near. Her simple stun launcher. She did not raise it. She just let it be seen. Eli took out his screen pad again. He typed with steady fingers and turned the screen toward the first rows of nobles, then toward the queen. He named Reth. A wave of tight movement ran through the court. Nobles glanced at each other. Some looked shocked. Some looked like they were not shocked at all, which was worse. Reth's mouth moved in a sharp denial. He pointed to the humans and made a fast gesture. Lies, trick. Queen Sorelith stepped forward and pointed at Eli, then at the case, then at the sealed doors. She acted as if she had solved it all. Eli watched her hands and understood the story. She wanted the room to believe. Asterisk humans came with a strange device. Humans trapped the court. Humans staged an attack. Humans are here to shame the throne. Asterisk, it was a clean story, a royal story. Simple enough for frightened people to accept. Eli did not argue with gestures. He did not fight the queen with emotion. He fought her with proof. He typed again, then set the pad on the floor, screen facing upward so many could see at once. On the screen appeared a list of dates, cargo codes, and star route lines. Under each code were small images, blurry, but clear enough, human children. Some asleep in transport pods, some standing in lines, some holding hands. The court's faces changed when they saw the small hands. Eli typed one more line in large letters. Asterisk, asterisk. These children were taken. Empire ships moved them. Asterisk, asterisk. Prince Kale stepped forward before he could stop himself. He stared at the images with a look that made him seem younger than his fine clothes. He looked up at the queen as if his eyes were asking, asterisk, is this real? Asterisk. Queen Sorelith's mouth tightened. She looked away from the images quickly, then lifted both hands in a firm, royal motion. Fake human lies. Eli's next move was slow and careful. He pulled a small data chip from his pocket and held it up. It was simple, plain, with a human serial mark. He pointed at the chip, then pointed at the palace listening crystals in the pillars. Then he pointed at Reth. Mara understood the meaning. At once, the chip held recorded palace traffic orders, routes, names. The quiet zone had stopped spying now, but it could not erase what had already been captured. Reth's eyes narrowed. His right hand shifted. Almost without thought, toward his belt toward a small control device built into his armor. It was not a weapon. It was a command tool. Mara saw it. She moved fast and kicked the device side with her boot, knocking his hand away before he could press anything. Reth's head snapped toward her. His anger was clear, even without sound. Mara's face stayed calm. She pointed at him, then at the whole room, making the meaning simple. No more hidden moves. The Queen's pride cracked for a moment. Not in tears, not in panic, just a small break in her perfect control. She glanced toward the sealed doors. Again, then back to Reth. She realized the trap might not be hers. Prince Kael took another step forward, bold now. He faced the Queen openly. Something no prince did unless the world had already shifted. His lips moved slowly, clearly, so everyone could read them. Did you know? The question was simple. It was deadly. Queen Saralith's eyes hardened. She stared at Kael, then swept her gaze across the nobles. Her hands rose, commanding the room to stay loyal. But loyalty needed a story. And the old story was dying on the floor in front of them. Eli typed again and showed the pad to the Queen. Asterisk, asterisk, return the children, end the taking. Open fair. Talks. Asterisk, 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 nitrogen monoxide. Punishment for worlds that leave. Asterisk, 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 nitrogen monoxide, more secret recruitment. Asterisk, asterisk terms. Clear. Direct, human. A few nobles looked relieved, like someone had opened a window in a burning house. Others looked furious because the term sounded like weakness to them. Queen Saralith stared at the words for a long time. Then she looked at the case on the floor, the source of the silence that had made her court. See too much, her fingers curled. She wanted to crush it. She wanted to smash it and bring back her voice and her fear. But she did not touch it. Instead, she made a sharp signal to her tech servants. Restore sound. Now the servants hesitated, terrified. They shook their heads. Nothing they did could break the quiet zone. Eli glanced at Mara. Mara gave a small nod. Eli tapped one side of the metal case with 2 fingers, careful, controlled like knocking on a door. A thin line on the seal flashed once. Sound returned in a sudden rush. People gasped, fabric rustled, armor clicked, breath, whispers, and fear poured back into the hall all at once. Queen Saralith did not waste even 1 second. She lifted her voice, strong and clear, so every noble, every guard, every hidden listener could hear. Then we choose war. Queen Saralith's words hit the hall like a whip. Then we choose war. For a moment, nobody moved. Sound had returned, but the room still felt heavy, like the silence had left a mark on every wall. Nobles held their breath. Servants stood frozen with wide eyes. Even the crystal pillars seemed less bright now, like they were ashamed of what they had helped hide. Eli Ward did not flinch. He looked up at the Queen and spoke in a clear, calm voice. Your Majesty, if you choose war, you will lose more than a battle. You will lose your court. The Queen's lips curled. I will lose nothing. She turned her head slightly. High Guard Reth, signal the fleet, full force. Reth's armor still showed dust from where Mara had dropped him earlier. He stepped forward, proud again, like the word war had restored his strength. He lifted his wrist to activate a command band. Mara's eyes locked on his hand. Reth tapped the band. A small light blinked. A floating screen appeared near the throne palace. Tech still worked in parts. The screen showed the planet outside, then the black sky beyond, filled with small dots, ships. The royal fleet. A low cheer rose from a few nobles, who still believed power solved everything. The Queen sat taller, as if the fleet was part of her body. Reth spoke into the air, his voice sharp. Fleet command, respond. Prepare to fire on the human vessel. Prepare. He stopped. The screen changed. A warning message appeared. Plain and brutal, asterisk, asterisk, target lock. Failed asterisk, 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 asterisk weapon system. Offline asterisk, 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 asterisk. Remote auth. Denied asterisk, asterisk. Reth blinked once, then tried again. His fingers moved fast, angry. The warning stayed. The dots of the fleet were still there, still bright, still real. But the fleet was not obeying. The Queen's face tightened. What is this? Reth's voice rose. Fleet command. Answer. Me. A second screen opened, showing audio traffic from orbit. It was not the Queen's secure channel. It was an open channel. Anyone could hear it. A human voice filled the hall, steady, low, and not afraid. This is Captain Sato of the UNV.com Horizon. We are in stable orbit. We are not firing. We repeat, we are not firing. Queen Sorelith slammed her hand on the throne arm. Cut that channel. The tech servants tried. Their fingers flew over keys. Nothing changed, Captain Sato continued. Your weapons cannot lock. Your missiles cannot arm. Your energy cannons cannot charge. Your fleet is safe. As long as it stays calm. A noble whispered. How? Eli answered without looking back. Because humans plan for the first strike, he said, and also for the second. He kept his eyes on the Queen. We did not come to die in your hall. Mara stepped closer to the case on the floor. She did not touch it. She only stood near it, like a guard near a door. This box is not alone, she said. It is linked. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Linked to what? Eli raised his chin toward the sky map on the screen. Linked to our quiet net. He said, a human field system. It does not destroy. It does not burn cities. It does one simple thing. He paused, letting the words land. It stops machines from killing people. The court went still again, even with sound. Prince Kale stared at the fleet dots, then at Eli. His voice came out rough. You can do this to any fleet. Eli did not boast. He did not smile. We can do it here, he said. Because we prepared. For this meeting, because we saw your roots. Because we heard your lies. Reth's jaw clenched. It is a trick. Mara pointed at the screen. Then fire, she said simply. Reth looked like he wanted to tear the screen apart with his hands. He turned to the Queen, speaking fast. Give me permission for manual strike. Kinetic, old method. No locks. A few nobles nodded. They liked. The word kinetic, it sounded ancient and strong. Stones and metal did not need smart systems. Queen Sorelith's gaze sharpened with hope. Do it. Reth lifted his wrist again, switching modes. He spoke codes. He used phrases only top command knew. The screen replied with another message. Manual override. Disabled asterisk, 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 asterisk reason. Safety lock, human net. Reth froze. For the first time, his confidence cracked. He looked at his own hand as if it had betrayed him. A new voice joined the open channel from orbit. This one, alien, nervous and strained. Throne command. This is Fleet Marshal Vero. We cannot arm anything. We cannot even open the primary weapon bays. Systems reject us. Highguard Reth's fingers closed around the hidden knife at his belt. He did not look at the Queen. He did not look at the nobles. His eyes stayed on Prince Kale, because the prince had stepped forward again, and Reth could see what was coming. Questions. Votes. Doubt, the kind of doubt that ended empires. Prince Kale lifted his voice so the whole hall could hear. My queen, he said, steady but tense. The fleet will not fire. The humans showed proof, and someone inside this palace tried to kill a guest. He turned his head, scanning the court. This is not strength. This is rot. A sharp hiss came from Queen Soralith. You dare speak to me like this? Reth moved. He drew the knife and rushed toward Kale, fast and low, using the crowd as cover. Several nobles gasped and jumped back. The guards near the throne hesitated, confused about who the real enemy was. Captain Mara Vance did not hesitate. She stepped in too. Reth's path and slammed her forearm into his wrist. The knife flew from his grip and skidded across the stone floor. Mara grabbed the front of his armor and drove him into a pillar. Crystal rang. Reth grunted in pain. He was strong, but without powered armor, his weight worked against him. He tried to headbutt her. Mara leaned away and struck his throat with the edge of her hand. Not to kill, only to stop him. Reth stumbled. Choking Eli Ward crossed the distance in 3 steps and picked up the knife. He held it up for all to see. This is your answer? Eli asked, voice calm. When truth appears, you stab it. Queen Soralis's face went pale with rage. Guards, seize the humans. A few guards started forward out of habit. Then they stopped. Because the open channel from orbit was still playing in the air. Fleet Marshal Vero spoke again, tense and clear. Your Majesty, we cannot engage, and we are receiving other messages. Worlds under our flag are watching this channel. A new sound joined the line-soft pings as outside feeds connected, one after another. Not only ships, not only soldiers, civil stations, trade hubs. Distant governors. The Queen froze. Her court was no longer the only audience. Eli turned slightly, speaking toward the air. People of the High Empire, he said, humans did not come to conquer. We came to stop what was hidden. He nodded at the screen pad on the floor, still showing the children's images. Return them, end force taking. Start honest talks. Prince Kale stepped closer to the throne. He kept his hands open, showing he carried no weapon. A queen, he said, voice firm now. This is bigger than pride. If you choose war, you will burn the empire just to protect one lie. Queen Soralith looked down at him as if he were a stranger. Her voice shook with anger. I am the empire. Kale did not back down. No, he said, you are the throne. The empire is the people. A hard silence fell not from the human case this time, but from the shock of hearing a royal say it out loud behind Mara. Reth suddenly lunged again, desperate. He reached for the fallen knife's direction, but Eli had already taken it. Reth's hand grabbed for Mara's belt instead. He tried to pull her off balance. Mara caught his arm and twisted. Reth roared and swung his other fist. Mara ducked, then drove her shoulder into his chest and forced him to the floor. She pinned him with her knee between his shoulder blades, using simple weight and control. Reth struggled like a trapped animal, but he was losing. Queen Soralith stared at the scene, her strongest guard held down like a criminal. Eli spoke quietly to her. Not as an enemy, but as a warning. This ends in 2 ways, he said. You can step back and save what can be saved, or you can fight and the galaxy will watch you fall. The Queen's eyes flicked to the nobles. Many had moved away from her without noticing. Small steps, small choices. A gap had formed around the throne like empty space around a dying star. Prince Kale raised his voice again, dressing the court. Council, he said, I call for an emergency vote. The question is simple. He pointed toward Reth, pinned to the floor. Arrest the traitor, end the taking. Return the children. Open peace talks. A senior noble, old and trembling, spoke up, and the Queen. Prince Kale's face tightened with pain. She can remain a symbol, he said, or step down. But she cannot lead a war. She cannot win. for a crime she will not admit. Queen Soralis's throat moved. She looked like she wanted to scream, but her voice failed her for a different reason now. Fear, not fear of death. Fear of being seen. Eli looked at the small metal case and then back to her. "You ordered, remove it," he said. "But you cannot remove what people know." For a long moment, Queen Sorelith stood very still. Then her shoulders dropped a fraction, as if something heavy finally slipped off her back. She lifted one hand, not in anger, in surrender. "Stop," she said. And the words sounded smaller than her crown. Mara tightened her hold on Reth. "You heard her," she said. "Stop." Guards moved at last, this time toward Reth. They took him from Mara, bound his hands, and dragged him away. Reth screamed threats, but no one listened. Prince Kale turned to the open channel. "Fleet Marshal Vero," he said, voice shaking but brave, "begin return protocols. All taken children." "All of them." Vero answered, "Understood." Eli exhaled. Slowly, he did not smile. He only nodded, as if this was not victory, but the first correct step after a long mistake. As the court began to move again, talking, arguing, crying, Eli picked up the metal case. He carried it to the center of the hall and placed it down gently. He looked up at the queen one last time. "Let it stay," he said. "A reminder." Queen Sorelith stared at the case, then at the people who no longer feared her the way they stay. Once did dot in that place where power used to speak loudly. The Empire learned a new lesson. Sometimes the strongest species did not win by striking first. Sometimes it won by making the room go quiet so everyone could finally hear the truth.